So what did I want to talk about? This is my first video. I'm hoping to make several videos. I think the end game is some sort of like a podcast, like a video podcast. I don't know, what is it, a vodcast? My first video has to be about me, just a quick introduction, and I want it to be short. Fuck, I really should have got a 10 before I did this. I guess I want to start by saying that I have an investment. No, that's stupid. I have an abduction story from when I was a child back in like the early 90s where I didn't really know the story until several years ago. About maybe 8 years ago, I finally brought it up with my mother. She gave me details that weren't part of the story before, that I told her about what happened while I was abducted. And it was like, it sounded a little paranormal. And in fact, like it sounds paranormal. So, and I should also preface that as much as I am grounded in reality, I have had an extremely paranormal experience in my life as well that I'm not going to get into in the very first video, but hopefully at some point I'll be able to tell that full story. It's not an easy story to tell. So what happened? What was I? I was probably 3 years. I think I was 3 years old, and we were in like a clothing style shopping mall, clothing style store, like one of those big chain stores. And I was hiding, playing games or whatever, hiding in the ring. You know, those ring. Fuck, what do you call them? A circle stand where you have a bunch of dresses or jackets, and I was hiding inside for 10-15 seconds, and my mom turns around and I'm gone. And my mother is a fucking helicopter mom. She's still at 33 years old, she's still a helicopter mom. I love you, Mom. She was not being careless. I was fucking gone. Like, almost like I was portaled out, or somebody was watching me before I even went in there. My mother freaked out. She ran to the cashier and she says, you know, my child is missing. My child is missing. I turned my back for 1 second and he's gone. And the cashier did not have a normal human reaction. She looked at my mom smugly and said, you should have been watching him more closely. As there's a middle of this missing child situation, she says, my mother should have been watching more carefully. And my mother was shocked. She didn't know what to say. There's another man within earshot, and he said, this is ridiculous. So let's I'm gonna go help you find him. Whatever. I show up. I'm back. I come back by myself, and everything's fine. Now here's the interesting part. I told my mother what had happened, and what had happened was this. A man had taken me, and we had gotten to the other side of the mall. Another man appeared, and I quote myself, that he was wearing a gold jacket. And apparently the man in the gold jacket stopped the guy trying to abduct me and took me back. But when my mother found me, there was no man there. And what's also interesting is that I told, apparently my mother, picture this, my mother's telling me this when I'm in my 20s, and I'd never heard this part of it before. Just that I had been, someone had tried to abduct me, but she never told me about someone intervening, someone wearing a brilliantly shiny gold jacket. And apparently I told that story word for word. She believed it was as obvious I was telling the truth. I was a young child. And then one day, I forgot all the details of it. It was as if it got wiped from my memory. And never again did I ever speak about the man in the gold jacket who saved me from this fucking... Yeah. And you should know, keep in mind the detail of the cashier shitting all over my mom in the middle of a crisis. In the early 90s, there were a lot of reports like this, especially in the UK. The children were being abducted and the police were clearly in on it. The police were not helping. They were shitting all over the parents. And so growing up, I felt like, okay, why me? You know, the typical like ego taking control, where it's like, well, why am I special? You know, I got my theories, but here I am now. I've learned as much as you guys, and I feel like I owe it to the cause. I feel like my whole life has been borrowed time. Never taken the oath. I'll take the oath now. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I will take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully... Yeah. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of office on which I am about to enter. So help me God, where we go one, we go all. There. I did it. I feel a change already. I want to also, you know, affirm that I'm not a shill. I'm a real guy. I'll do everything I can. I'm it's getting to the point where I'm ready to go the distance for this. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sure we all are. My future content, it's not going to be drop analysis. It's not going to be digging, because we already have the people who do that. I can't compete with the autists on 4chan. I can't compete with the big players. I think I will do well as sort of a Great Awakening therapist. Even though I have no credentials on it, we don't have anyone doing it. So I feel like I can shed some insight. I'll give you a little idea. We're seeing, you know, the cabal, deep state are displaying tendencies of narcissism. And it's like they are just the ultimate final bosses of narcissists. And it seems like nobody's gotten off freely in this world. We all are being forced to deal with narcissistic tendencies, lies, and people who are vain to the point where they need to tear you down in order to feel better. And that's kind of the nature of good and evil, isn't it? That it's like evil is not just acquiring and stealing from people, it's doing so because you get a pleasure from tearing them down. And so it's narcissism. It's that simple. Good and evil is fucking normal people versus narcissists. It's a worldwide issue. And you just got to look that right in the eye. And it's like, if you're a narcissist, you're part of the fucking problem. Wake up to it and heal it. I've dealt with narcissists. I've tried to aggressively treat it. I've tried to aggressively treat the issues in them and me. I noticed that I kept coming back to them. You know, these crazy fucking girls who were great in bed, but drove me crazy. And finally, after I got treated like complete shit by complete shit, when I realized that I should have left her a long time before, and I didn't, I went to one of these online, you know, dial a therapist. I paid like, I don't know, $60 for a few sessions. And it was essentially, she was just texting me. She was just typing, it was like an online chat room therapy. Changed my fucking life. I told her a couple sentences and she said, "Have you ever heard of codependency? You sound like a codependent." And it's kind of a buzzword, but she sent me to a list of tendencies, traits that codependents demonstrate. And it was like waking up from a zombie dream. Now, here's the thing. I've been researching and digging and pulling apart the seams of this world for 18 years. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago, learning about codependency, that I actually felt like I was waking up from a zombie dream. It hit me so much harder than learning about, you know, secret space programs. So honestly, check it out. Just go somewhere and look at traits for codependence. It'll fucking knock you off your pedestal. People who are dealing with evil right now, you know, they're getting a hit off it. This is the big issue here, is that codependent and a narcissist are they're involved in a mutually toxic relationship, where it's you know, in its most basic definition, it's one that takes more than the other and takes advantage of the other, but the other one's willing, it's complicit. So a codependent will be taken advantage of willingly, and they'll bank that, and they'll come back at a certain later date and say, well, you remember when you took advantage of me? Now I XYZ. The whole idea is, when you get taken advantage of as a codependent, as someone who is on the other side of the narcissist coin, you feel like you've made progress. It's not the best term, but you feel, and here's one of the most important parts, you feel superior. You feel superior. You feel, oh, look at me, I'm so selfless, I'm so altruistic, I'm getting taken advantage of and I'm not even complaining. Well, that's your involvement in a toxic relationship. Now, so that's the individual level, and we're talking about good and evil. This is happening in the world scale. So what does it mean? You know, we're all talking about how powerless we are, and it's like, oh, why won't they just do something? And this sucks and everything. But one day we'll be recognized for it. Now, I'm not saying we're doing the wrong thing. I'm not saying we should be out rioting and fighting BLM and Antifa. But what I am saying is that we should be aware. Be aware that we are getting something out of this. And it's as simple as cutting that cord. I mean, it's not simple, but it's not simple. But the task is to reject the relationship, reject narcissists as a whole, as a collective consciousness, saying, we just don't want to deal with you anymore. We don't want to have you apologize somewhere down the road. We don't want to feel vindicated. We don't want to feel vindicated. We just want them to go away. Go away. You know, therapists say there's no curing narcissists. You can't deal with them. They never get better. They just need to go away. In your personal relationships, if you see yourself getting involved with a narcissist, run for the fucking hills. Now, at the global scale, I don't know. What do we do? It's not the coolest rabbit hole, but it is a rabbit hole. You'll learn a lot about yourself, and you'll be knocked off your own pedestal, and you'll be a better person for it. So check it out. I look forward to adding some production value to this, being one of the cool guys, but for now it's just me walking around in a park. One of the other things I want to do is, like I said, I want to do interviews, but it's like, who am I? I'm nobody special. You're nobody special. But these other guys aren't really that special either. So what I'm thinking is, me and nobody interviewing other nobodies. We'll just have some fun with it. We'll just, get to know each other. So if anybody feels like they have anything they want to share and nobody wants to interview them, fuck, I'll interview you. Let me know, hit me up in DMs, and we'll go from there. Ciao.